Hello everyone, this is Sean. I'm back again, and this is a unboxing video for the Star Trek movie era figures, but this time I already opened them after the fact, and I forgot to filament, but what I can do at least is I can show you the card back and everything of each figure, and how I arranged the accessories and everything this time. So we'll start with Admiral Kirk, and I'll get separate backdrop pictures of each one in the center of the cardboard backing. All right, so the first step is the card back of Admiral Kirk himself. And what I did is I carefully cut the backing flush, and I stuck the motion picture in the center of that's the asteroid explosion picture. And you can see it does identify his correct rank and everything. It shows his accessories, but they're more visible on the back anyway. So he has his phaser, wrist communicator, captain's log, and a V'ger component. Now, I'll get the bag of V'ger components at the end. And you can see the card backs that show. See, a deluxe collector card. So it's longer than normal, so I will show those cards too. But see, now I have Kirk. I already had Spock, McCoy, and Sulu. So you still need a few, and of course I'm going to open up these two next week. All right, so that is the Admiral Kirk card back. Here's the Admiral Kirk figure. You can see the Admiral Kirk placard there. And here he is. So front and back, side to side, you can see the Admiral ranks on his sleeves. And the backing. And the right side. Okay, and then of course, got to take a look at his accessories, which I put in the bag that his base came in. I realized, why use up all the Ziploc bags when most of the accessories come in bags themselves anyway? Save the Ziploc bags for the model building. Yes. And of course, he comes with a captain's log. So here he is holding his accessories. So he's got the Starfleet phaser, he's got the captain's log, and he's got the wrist communicator. And if you take the captain's log out of his hand, you will be able to see it more clearly. And focus on the finger, and you can see it actually is a picture of the refit Enterprise. Look at that. So it's almost like a pad. It's got the Starfleet emblem. Can't quite read what's on there. It's not that clear. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to turn on the overhead light and try to... I think that'll work. Daylight's okay. It's a bit hazy, but it should be fine. But let me try. 1 minute, one comparison. All right, actually that is clearer. Good. Now let's see if we can use the magnifying glass here. Focus on the sticker of his captain's log and see if we can actually read what it says. I can't read it there. You might be able to read it there. Come on, focus on my finger. Maybe. Anyway, that's Captain Kirk in front of his card back, so let's set him aside for now so we can go to the next figure. And the next figure in order of rank is Dr. McCoy. So you have his card back here. I put the sticker from the front of the blister on the same place. You can see how it's the TOS Enterprise instead of the Motion Picture Enterprise. And you can see, so he comes with a medical bag, a medical kit, medical neurological scanner, and a part of the VidraPro. Now, you see how his accessories are dull in color? Well, take a look at his accessories in the actual bag, and you will see they're not dull in color at all. They're actually a dark blue, almost a bluish purple. You can see that here. See? Oh, turn it around. There you go. There's his medical bag. Probably has a little hypo or something in it. And here is his little neurological scanner. Almost looks like a old walkie-talkie. And of course his medical kit. Here. Come on, focus. There you go. Better. There you go. And then of course here is Dr. McCoy himself. I almost said Admiral McCoy because I have that one from the mid-90s. But there he is. There's his waist scanner, his comm badge. He's got the bright blue, intense eyes of DeForest Kelley. There's his commander ranks. So he's not just a lieutenant commander anymore. There's his back, and there's his right side. So I'm going to put his accessories in the his hands and then put him in front of the card back. There you go. And of course, I got a picture earlier with his card in place. There you go. There's the picture of him with his card in place. Probably get a group picture at the end as well. There's a picture of Admiral Kirk, same configuration. Don't worry, he'll be cropped to fit later. And then, of course, straighten. Then, of course, you have Lieutenant Sulu. Thought he was a lieutenant in the original series. I guess he didn't increase in rank in a decade. Now, you see he has a green tricorder, but his wrist communicator and phaser are red, and of course he comes with part of VidraProbe as well. So, let's take a look at his accessories. I put the VidraProbe accessories in a separate bag. I'll show them to you in a couple moments. Alright, so he has his tricorder. Now, the interesting thing is his tricorder was green on the card back, but it's blue in the package. There's his wrist communicator and his Starfleet phaser. So I will put them in his hands now. And of course, there's his card back. So there's Sulu with his card back. And before I get all three together, I'll show you the VidraProbe parts they all came with. I have 4 out of the 5 VidraProbe parts. Kirk came with the parabolic deflector dish. Spock came with the base. Dr. McCoy came with the thick right side arm. And Sulu came with the thinner left side arm. So they all go in this bag here. And that bag gets all taped up so that the parts are kept intact. Okay, so tape the VidraProbe parts together and then put the 3 figures in place for their group picture. And they're all holding their accessories, which makes it even better. And this is a better group picture than the one I got earlier anyway, because the one I got earlier was in daylight with no overhead light and it got a bit misty. So this will be unmisty. Alright, there you go. That one shouldn't need any color corrected at all. It'll just need cropping. And of course what I did have the display case out here, but then I realized once I took the Star Wars Black Series and the 2009 figures away, I could make room here and have the motion picture figures on this shelf, leaving this space for Uhura. And of course, there's the figures I opened last week. So I'm going to set them up on this shelf now and get the new updated figure picture. But in the meantime, while you can still see everyone, there's the bottom shelf. And there's the top shelf. Now these are these small figures, and the Super 7 are almost the same size that came with the old Bridge playset, which I did see at that 80s toy shop. But I decided not to buy it. I focused on Lord Dread stuff instead. Alright, so there are the figures, and they're appropriately spaced so you can see all their faces. There's space for Uhura when I find her, and there is space in front for at least 1 or 2 rows of figures with their accessories. And if I can roll the accessories up like that, and their bases are smaller, like the TNG figures, you should be able to fit 2 rows of figures here. Or you have to turn to using the top of the shelf, which is what I'm going to do, but not on this 3-shelf thing. That 3-shelf thing is going to go in here, and it can expand out like that, so you could fit 4 or 5 figures. It's almost as wide as this. And because this thing is not as wide front to back as the shelf is, it should work a lot like the Motu Origins figures and have 4 and then 1 in front. Yeah. So I'll show a preview now of what I'm opening next week. So next week I'm opening up my final 2 figures from the movie series. I have Commander Kruge and Marta from Star Trek 6. So Star Trek 3, Star Trek 6. And I realized that at the end of last week's video I probably showed a picture of the figures boxed, but next week I'll start with that, of course. And of course, what sits behind my toy table is the backdrop of the Motu Origins and Cartoon Collection figures and the Motu Vintage shelf back there. So when I sit at my table and hold the figures that I'm going to open next, you can see the, in the background, the toy shelves. And of course, don't forget that I have toy shelves on the left side of the room as well. And as you see, I put some of the stuff down there, and I moved Mega Construx Castle Grayskull so that I can step in here now and access the card back box, which I've rearranged to put the Star Trek figures here instead, and the Motu over there. So I'll have an entire card back box, and of course the 2024 Ships of the Line calendar has been moved into place, so I have 5 years of calendars just in this box alone. And the hockey card supplies have been moved over here until I decide to open them. The Motu Mega Construx have been moved onto their shelves in their containers. Haven't opened them yet. And of course, you've got the Visionaries, G.I. Joe. They're all carded like in their drawers there. I picked up an ET lunchbox at the 400 Antique Market this past weekend, and you see all the vintage, the vintage Happy Meals here, and the vintage Fraggle Rock figures there. And of course, last week I opened up the Borg figure. You can see him on the bottom shelf. So this is the First Contact figure shelf. It's perfect, not a lot of wasted space there with the Enterprise in the background. That's appropriate. There are accessories in the Ziploc bags there, but now that I know each figure comes with its own bag, you just tape it shut each time. And you have a couple shelves, and they go all the way back, but I'm just going to start with the front level of the top shelf and move my way back until there's enough room to put this in there. And then you move down to the second shelf, which is more like Star Trek Generations and Star Trek Voyager. I think a lot of Next Gen is in this one. And I have been working on my Star Trek collection from the Memory Alpha. They do the stock number, which I just realized is the bottom number, 6459, versus 6457. So that's what I have to go for. So I got all of 92, all of 93, then you start with 94, and so on. So you have the figure name, the series, and stock number, and whether I have it or not. And thanks to my childhood collection, I already knew I had Ambassador Spock, McCoy, and Captain Scott. Of course, Damage Breaker. What I did is I took a look at the loose figures back here and matched them up with the list. So you knew you already had Captain Picard Season 1, you had the damaged Riker figure, you had Data, etc. Yeah. Now this is probably a combo pack, so it might not be mentioned, but we'll find out. And of course you have Ambassador Sarek loose, but I also have him carded, so you don't have to... And you see? The Kirk figure at least came with his communicator and everything. Yeah, so that's basically Star Trek figure opening, part 7, episode 7. And a slight toy room update as the display evolves. And don't forget, I have this display shelf as well, which works with figures that are not on their bases. And of course the drawer tower that holds my Star Wars figures from episode 1 and 2. Okay, so that's basically all for now. And you can see the figures I'm going to open next week. And then I start into the actual shelving because the figures are accumulated faster than I could open them. But I've opened up most of the Motu Origins, so now it's time to open up the Star Trek Playmates. Of course, I'm not going to open up either the Rathacon 40 years or the Next Generation 40 years because I already opened up the base figures from the 2022 line here. And as you can see, there are their accessories. And I'm actually wondering if I can swap out this shelf for the more stable one. So give me one moment to experiment with that. I'll be right back. I was right. This shelf is more stable. And if my experiment is correct, even with the thin base, just might be able to fit even on the second level. So if they ever make any more, there you go. Good. And you can still fit 2 rows of Star Trek figures in front of here. This rickety shelf, which isn't very stable at all, can either be returned to Value Village or saved for some... Because you can't turn this shelf upside down because then it falls like that, you see? Yeah. But this shelf is a wonderful find. So is this. Even at its width, it's quite extensive. Okay. So that's all for now for Sean's toy room. Let me see if I can get back enough. There you go. There's a wide angle view of the Star Trek collection thus far. At least the 4.5-inch figures. That's my childhood corner shelf. You can see the Matchbox, which has my childhood Hot Wheels, my childhood train, my Hot Wheels racing set, and it has the Star Trek collector glasses and Star Wars collector glasses as well. So that's all for this week, and we'll see you here next week for those figures.